I'm live. TitanX on Pulschain is gaining momentum. Yes. All right. This is an experiment to see if I can do like a 20-minute update of the migration of value of TitanX assets over to Pulschain. And I'm going to get there's a few different things. One is the Eros web. I want to spend some time on that, but I also want to say that migration of value that's been spurred by the Eros plan and a few revivals, Lotus and Eden and others coming. There are other groups of TitanX community folks migrating value in different ways. So shout out to House of Warlords. That community is a mix of communities, right? And yeah, man, they're migrating value and launching fee sharing LP webs on Pulschain, right? And eventually we'll end up coordinating, connecting those webs on Pulschain. So, okay, I wrote some things down. I want to see if, first of all, shout out to the totems back there. Anybody that's been, yeah, man. Oh yeah, so I've got three. One is that the big one is the TitanX totem, and that's got basically all the TitanX and Build on TitanX projects in there, right? All of them. Right? I don't have to own them to hold them and to connect them, right, through totemic art, right? I'm free. I do what I please in that realm, right? And then the other one that's really, it's an incredible work in progress right now, like the protocol, is Ouroboros. The Ouroboros totem is hot. It's infinity. It's got eyes, and it's got shadowy, and it's got the whole vibe of the Ouroboros crew. And that just beginning piece is actually House of Warlords, man. Yeah, it just got inspired by Shrey and crew bringing like all those freaking people and the art, right? Sometimes it's like overwhelming for me to go into the Telegram, but I really like watching the art. I don't know if it's Shrey, I don't know if you're producing and creating that, if it's a team effort, but I really like the art. It's like, it's crypto, it's DeFi, as it's like hip hop. It's like where it's got its own culture that sort of carries the day. So I like that. Yeah, and before House of Warlords, actually, before I knew that there was a HOW token, or I knew that there were going to be tokens coming out of there, I just got inspired, right? And so when I get inspired, I get a piece of wood, and I chose a piece of wood for the HOW totem, and I told Shrey that I was going to do it, and I don't know if he thought I was serious or not, but probably. And so yeah, so I'm going to carve that this summer, right, along with the Ouroboros one. And the other thing is the Build on TitanX totem is morphing, right? It's transitioning. It's getting more mature. And part of that is reclaiming Eros, because people are like, why Eros? Can we just change the name Eros? There's too much. I'm like, no, it's carved in, man, and it's powerful. Eros is a magnet, and that's just Eros, like the Joy token over on AVAX. Eros is a high vibe name and a high vibe holder group, right? I'm not just saying perfect, but high vibe. What I mean is like the low vibes are fear, deceit, like all the lower vibrational emotions. The high vibes are, you know, the most important ones in terms of holder groups are humility, which comes typically from some experience, but also assertiveness and confidence. That's not arrogance, right? And so the high vibe also is aligned interests. And the other high vibe is, right, principled investment in tokens, in this case, liquidity webs and platforms, in the, Ethereum, Pulschain, Sonic, AVAX, blockchains. All right. So here's the update. That was I'm trying to be on point. I wrote some things down because, yeah, as a stutterer, and I know I don't stutter now, but as a stutterer, once a stutterer, always a stutterer. Okay. And so, and I didn't realize why as a kid I was stuttering, but now I know. I realized how I controlled it and how I managed it, right? I also, I mean, yeah, I learned how to, like, even in elementary school, I learned how to fight. I didn't have to that much, actually. Once I reacted in rage to getting teased for stuttering, I didn't have to fight anymore. And I realized, especially with men and boys and men scare easy, right? You just have to know what scares guys. And I learned early on. One of the things that scares guys are snakes, right? But don't get me going there. That's Shaolin style. So, okay, let me see if I can do a 20-minute update on TitanX on Pulschain. First, there's the House of Warlords migration of value. I can't see how that's happening. I think it's individuals who are, you know, have a collective identity and a collective strategy, right? And so I would say go study that. There seem, King token, which I believe is Gugad and his team. I, I think it's doing really well, right? How token, it's all connected. BP Die with Mo and team, and the Council of LP seem to be contributors in, in strategy and LP, and yeah, so that's a force in nature to follow. That's TitanX, not just TitanX, but grows out of TitanX on Pulschain. Next is Eros Web, which is, let's start with where the momentum is, okay? Why there is momentum and where because I can only speak for myself, see the momentum. The first is that this guy, Peter, it's not about him, but he is a relentless educator. People call him a spammer or whatever because he's overwhelming in the amount of information. But if you really, instead of reacting to it, if you spend a little bit of time listening to the audios and understanding why Peter is suggesting this and why he showed up as, I just got reminded of this because Eros is 1 year old yesterday, the contract was deployed and renounced and, on chain. Yes, a year ago yesterday, it's operating for over a year. So he showed up as the Eros teddy bear god with some AI songs. I was like, and it was like 2 months ago. It was at a bottom, man. And the TitanX like vibe was so bad, at that time. It was like all the other blockchains and communities, right? Pulschain was just as bad or worse. Sonic was like starting to hit its bottom. Like Base was like, people are like, the only place I think that didn't have that vibe, which is why AVAX is interesting to me, was AVAX. AVAX has really been a quite consistent performer. The Arena app is something I'm going to start looking into as a creator avenue, right? I like that this guy Daniel, who's a builder dev, who's built some AI protocols over on Sonic. He's an AVAX. He grew out of AVAX and built with Phantom and over in Sonic, but he's migrating home to AVAX. That's natural to me, which is why I am naturally migrating some of my Ethereum base value over to Pulschain. Not all of it. Most of my value is in Ouroboros and will stay on Ethereum. Even my TitanX is, on Ouroboros, and I'm using it as a collateral asset. So what I'm doing is part of what others are doing is, so Peter, he woke up the idea. That's momentum. There's momentum to this idea. And it's being a magnet for a small group that's growing of investors who understand LP and are workhorses who understand how to set up ratios and how to build pools. There's increasing awareness that migrating value over the bridge to Pulschain is an option. It's not a requirement. Nobody has to do it. It's voluntary. This is DeFi, true DeFi, right? Not waiting for anybody, just taking action. So it's bringing awareness. I didn't even think about it. The reason why I was open was because I was thinking, how do I migrate value back to Pulschain already? Because I had small, not big bags, but moon bags of a lot of the stuff that I was into. So Pulse and PulseX. I have a little Hex. PTGC is something that I have bought a little of just to get in the game. I saw it very early, but I bought a little of it just to be part of the alien crew over there. Atropa and P-Dye and Bear, OG Bear, Teddy Bear. So I was an early investor in the Atropa web, and I was fortunate that I actually didn't understand it. And when I don't understand something, I will, sell on the way up. If I don't understand it and I'm in, but I just have an intuition, then I really am less a long-termer and more like get in the blood or early and sell on the way up. So that was my mindset about Atropa, P-Dye, and Bear, and a few of the other Atropa projects. What's nice is that I'm now using my moon bags of that stuff to partner in LP with my TitanX assets, and so that's what I'm doing. So there's a momentum in wake up. Peter's like, wake up. He's like, wake up, and he's still doing it. He's trying to wake up builders, and a lot of people are resisting. A lot of people are ignoring him. A lot of people aren't listening, and it's part of because if you take it in a sensitive way, he's annoying. But if you take it as a wake-up call and then I choose what to pay attention to, it's powerful. And then there's momentum in education, my own education, what I'm doing, but also what other people are doing. And so I want to speak to that. So here's the momentum. I got made aware, and I'm part of these, but I didn't realize the magnitude of the impact of what we're doing. So revival of Lotus and Eden. And it's not over, but it started. Lotus is 12x off the bottom since we started. Eden is 7x off the bottom since we started. I didn't realize that. I looked, I was given some charts today. Thank you, Peter. Peter delivered charts. Ask Peter for charts. He's got amazing charts. Ask him. He'll give them. You didn't even have to talk to Peter. Relate with his icons. He's the teddy bear god. He's a wealth of information and education, and he's giving it all away for free. And he's the top holder in Eros. And I don't worry about it at all. Because I asked him right away when he engaged me, he said, "Are you interested in this?" And I asked him questions. And then one of the first questions I asked him was, who are the holders? He said, I'm number one and the burn wallet's number two. And we need diamond hand holders of people like you who believe that we can grow this and reclaim this and, attract a community to migrate value and have Eros as a PTTC clone, tip of the sword on Pulschain. I was like, And I asked him, what's your strategy to get in and get out responsibly without, you're the biggest holder, how do you do it? He knew, he thought it through, and he shared it with me, and it's what he's been sharing out there if you listen, right? Which is, this is early. You get in early to the LP web and to Eros if you want. It's a choice. And then we work for our bags and we promote our LP pairs and we invite new people in and educate and onboard. And the earliest people in who probably have the biggest bags, other than when the pools will be deep enough so that when whales can come in, they come. But the early ones of us are in, will all have a similar strategy for getting in and getting out. Everyone is free to do whatever he, she, they please. Because this is true DeFi. It's decentralized. No one's in charge. But you can still dialogue on strategies and communicate. When people need to sell to take for a family, that will be supported. And when people, are smelling euphoria, you can sell 3% every other day, right? It doesn't kill it. And then it also makes supply available to new people coming in. And if we are in integrity and still educating about the risks and the opportunity of holding assets, volatile early stage assets, right? So, okay. Revival of Lotus and Eden, 12x and 7 off. But connected to that is like what you realize when you look at these, because I didn't know how to revive this. That was a combination of Peter and Rich, who helped me to understand. Peter gave the idea, and then Rich said, here, Chiz, here's how we do it. I was like, oh. And it was the first time I saw in my own experience how you, from the bottom up, get an aligned group of owners. I don't own I thought I was going to own a ton of Lotus. I mined it, right? So I have some Lotus already. It was worth almost nothing. And I saw it was at the bottom. So part of the plan was start buying it. little bits, little bits. There's low liquidity, right? Creates scarcity. People have sold into, they've dumped it. There aren't too many holders. There's supply in the LP. There are other holders, but most of the supply is probably in the LP. So, number one, we buy, we hold it, or we buy at lows. There are other build on TitanX tokens that are really low now. And if I like the idea, and if a community likes the idea of having it and buying it low and bridging it, and then this is the thing that Rich taught me. He's taught me a lot in the last month or month and a half. Number two, so we bring Lotus and Eden over, and then he says we pair it with strength. I'm like, oh, I like that idea. What does he mean? And I know what he means now. Pair it with strength on Pulse. That means, first of all, mirroring the TitanX pairing ethos. And so that means Lotus and TitanX. It also means pairing with core assets on Pulschain. So that means Pulse or PulseX, right? And so it's pairing with strength. And it means pairing with leverage, which is Eros, which is another form of strength. Pair it at the foundation with the base assets, TitanX and Pulse. Pair it with each other. So maybe Lotus and Eden in a pair, and then Lotus and Eros to get advantage of the Eros awareness and scarcity and eventually utility. Right now, there's crazy utility for Eros. People are like, I don't like it. I'm like, how can you not like a PTGC clone that is a fee sharing token that is really fair, honestly, in terms of getting access to it. Look at the chart. Yeah, we've been up 7 out of the last 8 weeks, but we haven't reached all-time high yet, which is another double. And once we get to all-time high, and the thing is that it's not all about the chart, but the chart tells the story, right? More buyers than sellers, even if it's a few. Its sentiment is strong in bearish times. There's a reason why Lotus and Eden are up 7 and 12x when everything else is like dumpster, at least in the TitanX ecosystem. There's a reason. It's because sentiment for holders and buyers got better because there was a plan. And then we're pairing it with strength. And the prices on Pulschain will impact the prices on Ethereum, right? There's going to be cross-chain RBots talking to the bridge wallet, right? So all of this activity, economic activity, even in small bits, gets the RBots, the cross-chain ones and the ones on Pulschain, which is what we care about for Eros. In the Eros web, all the ARB between all the pairs in the web is what keeps on buying and burning Eros and keeps on feeding us, the holders, the stakers, and the lockers. And this is why PTGC people understand. It's very different than PTGC. PTGC is an amazing protocol with deep math, a great invention, and an incredible DAO and treasury. That's a blue chip in the making, right? And I feel great learning with them and from them, and also doing the Eros web, which is a clone, very differently because it's very different. It's intended as a merging of build on TitanX and build on TitanX, and Pulschain strength. And so that means the core assets. It also means the Atropa web, right? And so soon I'm going to be on with Atropa interested people, educating about the Atropa web, which honestly was the source of a lot of Jake's innovation. Jake did amazing integration of his lessons from Hex and from Pulschain and from Atropa and probably PTGC. I don't know. I'm sure Jake had other influences, but Jake's innovation, grew out of his. I met Jake or knew Jake way before he launched TitanX, and it was mostly first around Pulschain and then around Zen. And I remember really listening to Jake because I was like, first of all, around the cycles. This is why I don't worry about, the treasury and all that, because I know Jake has these cycles and he's in his own zone. Okay, around that. I lost my train of thought. So paired with strength on Pulse, and the beauty is we're free to do what we like. So, and I'm gonna say like and so there's more momentum. I hear through the grapevine that Inferno is going to have a presence on Pulschain. That's amazing, right? And I'm thinking, okay, well, what do I have to pair? I'm like, so I'll be following those guys, and because I don't know enough to lead, so I followed with Lotus and Eden. I followed Peter in an LP with Bear and P-Dye, which is great because then I'm a holder of all of these things. And this is how I got, this is how I'm, building, strategic alliances just by collaborating in LPs, right? And bringing together coins that I like. I like Bear. I did really well in Bear. So I bought a little bottoms with some stable coin. I bought Bear at the bottom and I bought, Eros at the bottom and paired them. That's our strongest Eros Bear pool. And that was intentional. Peter said, that's my baby, which is yours. And I was like, well, I like that one for now. Let's see. And I also, because we've got Rich really, also, I hear bringing in Smoke, right? I also hear Gift talking about Pulsar Revival. I saw Ali talking about Titan BTC Revival, right? And so anyone that wants to revive TitanX or build on TitanX tokens, you don't have to move contracts, but we can move value into LP and be creative and take action and revive, buy low or hold, or whatever we hold, and do it collectively. Do it not alone. We don't want to do it alone, right? I'm taking personal action, but I'm moving Lotus and Eden because I know that we have now diamond hand holders, right? Same thing with Eros. I'm confident. Like you see, it's fine. Our chart and our protocol, nobody other than Peter in the burn wallet and a few people in Eros can really hurt the price really bad. Most holders, it's very distributed holdership. There's probably 20 people that if really wanted to could hurt, but like, why? Why would I do that? Right? No, I don't want to do that. Unless I or anyone else needs to sell, now's not the time to sell. Now's the time to accumulate, if I believe, right? And so, yeah, I'm contributing to the Lotus chart, the Eden chart, and I'm not even bringing new money in. You don't need new money in, really. The question is deploying first dust, and then once I saw that putting dust was creating value, then I could start to deploy and redeploy capital. So I'm redeploying capital within crypto. I'm not bringing in new dollars. I'm just, I'm even bringing in, I have like legacy Luna stuff that I still have, and over on Cosmos, I'm bringing that in to deploy in onto Pulschain because I just think Pulschain is going to explode. The third, so momentum, reviving Lotus, Eden, and others, pairing with strength. Now's the time to build deeper core pools. And I think the Inferno migration will be really important for that. And I can see a whole, and I could see also, I tried to buy Pulsar on Ethereum. I need to ask, I don't think it's there. I think it's only, I think the only way to is to transform TitanX into Pulsar. I think I need to ask if, but I suspect the play is not to transform that unless, I'm not gonna, I think it's probably cheaper to buy it, but I think the only place to buy it is on Pulschain. I need to do more research in Pulsar, but that's another one that I think, right, particularly if there's an emerging vision, which I'm hearing, I'm like pulling it out of the universe, right? So, okay, that's where the moment. Oh, the third is diamond hand holders. It's really diamond hand is just the label in the industry. I don't really buy it, but what I do buy is aligned interests and dialogue among holders, especially in community-based initiatives, decentralized dialogue, so that we really can understand, how do I not get wrecked? How do I only go into projects where there aren't big holders ready to dump on head? Because as we go into this next exponential stage, when there's a culture of diamond hands and aligned holders of holding, and getting out responsibly over time, when there's that, as opposed to people are pissed and people want to take short-term profits, and you get a pump and then you get a dump and you get big players wanting to get out, right? That's like the curse of even the bull cycle. I've seen it before where people get pissed and like they're just wanting to inhibit, and they just want to get out, basically. That's not what we want. We want is people wanting to stay in, and people wanting to attract newcomers and wanting to educate and wanting to share like what's a positive culture and investment and ROI, right? And so that's what we want. And so that's why at the lows, how I've been doing it personally is deploying into where assets have a community of trust among the holders, right? That's why I have a lot of faith in Ouroboros. That's why I have a lot of faith in Lotus now and Eden. That's why I have a lot of faith in Eros now. That even when we get a 3x or a 5x or a 10x, right? This is like, that's not what I are going for in Lotus and Eden. I'm not going for a 3x. Okay. I mean, that'll just get me back to, right? I'm going for whatever, right? There's no reason, but I know what I'm not going for. And now it's a setup to have leverage on leverage on leverage with diamond hand holders. So we'll see, paired with strength. And so my question is, like, which are going to be the next ones? Oh, okay. I have a question. So diamond hand holders, it's more about like dialogue among enough holders who hold enough supply to hurt the protocol, the project. Like, there's a principle in negotiations, right? Multi-stakeholder negotiations, whether or not there's peace treaties or deals, but when you have multiple stakeholders, one of the principles is anyone that can hurt the deal or kill the deal needs to be at the table to negotiate the deal. So I learned this from mediating very complicated conflict, potentially very violent conflict, and sometimes big dollar conflict. And what I learned is that with all these multiple stakeholders, you have to get everybody at the table to get a deal, an understanding, an agreement in principle, or else people will descend into chaos and hurt each other. That's what happens in multi-stakeholder groups like investor groups, which is what these community protocols really are, right? They're investor groups. And if we can align interest and if we can read motivations of people by listening and learning and educating and helping people, instead of shilling and selling, helping people to make good decisions for self. So what's next? How did I do? Yeah, I'm talking. I probably went on too much. I think what we're going to see is more supply moving over. So if you're interested, like people on the Pulschain side are asking me, like, where's the migration going to come? Like the PTGC community is wondering, where's the value migration into PTGC? And I said, and they're looking at the bridge. I think they were asking for details. Like, where are their new buyers coming from? And I think they're coming from a few different places. Very few will onboard directly to Pulschain, but Pulschain is getting really much better at direct onboard. Like right now, like people don't know this. Even in the US where I am, you can get a bank now and onboard onto Pulschain directly, but that's not how most people do it. Most people in the US will go through Coinbase or Kraken or something like that. But there is, but most of Pulschain will come over the bridge. Yeah, I forgot what I was. Oh, so I think we're going to see more supply moving over. TitanX, DragonX, and the build on TitanX coins that are looking for revival and a new market, a new opportunity, and it really, just like some people are liking building and investing on base. I have a little piece of Uranus over there, and I'm going to get access to it through Smoke, which is going to be a non-fee token on Pulschain and Ethereum and elsewhere. Rich Landon's doing. I think it's long. I don't know when, but I've heard it's in audit. So I think Smoke is going to be, I think that's what we're going to see next. I don't know when. We'll talk to Rich, but I think what we're going to see is, I'm making this up, which is, for me, the fun of it. But when I see migration, I'm starting to see, like, I thought I'm carving the How totem, and I was like asking Trey, how do we connect it? He was like, the How and Eros pool. I was like, oh yeah, right? That's a strange one. and I'm asking, and maybe I should get Shrey and Peter to talk this through. Peter and Shrey, talk this through. Like, I'd love you guys and maybe the Council of LP people to come together, maybe on Mo's show or on my show. I forget. And maybe we'll bring Mo on my show. And we can do a dialogue on how might we connect in, like, the LP webs between how, and they got a freaking whole universe of tokens that are being launched. Even I saw Mellow seems to have right on Mellow, right? So how do we uplift that web, uplift this web, and bridge them? I suspect Smoke 420. First of all, it's probably really good for Pulschain if we could bring some chill vibes over there and some unifying effort, because Pulschain's been through the ringer, man. That chain and that builder and founder was attacked hard. And when one and a chain and a community gets attacked, it splits. And if you see what's happening there, that's why I'm starting to carve for Pulschain now, right? Also, the Ouroboros carving is carving for Sonic. Sonic is having its first growth pains. But once Ouroboros lands on Sonic, and I'm assuming that's where we're landing, I don't know that, but there have been enough hints for me to think that the first next deployment on another blockchain might be on Sonic, but I have no idea, honestly. And I don't want to spread any rumors. I just want to share what I know, which is that there will be a next deployment of Ouroboros and, outside of Ethereum, and we'll see where it goes. So going back to, you see how my mind can wander. I start thinking about the totems and keeping this all straight. So yeah, I just have this thought, partially because Rich is transforming, as I understand it, a fee token that's on base. And this is going to be good, I think, for base holders, for Smoke on base, which is, it'll be good because it creates scarcity. And then when the Uranus web and when the base season happens, like, people over in Smoke will have a scarce asset and reflections and fee sharing. And then what we'll get is Smoke, which is a non-fee token on. And what I care about, not that I don't care about what it's going to do on Ethereum, but I can see how it integrates, in the Eros web. So I can see Smoke Lotus. Right? Smoke Eden, Smoke Eros. Smoke, knowing Rich would have to be paired with Strength, and so whatever Rich thinks is strongest of the core tokens, Pulse X. I sort of like Smoke and Pulse X, because then you've got two deflationary assets paired together. I like that one. I also think that Smoke could be a bridge for the How token. One of the challenges, I know that we could do two fee tokens. So Eros is 5%, How is 10%. I know we could do those, but I don't know enough to know if that's a good idea. But like, if Smoke is tied into the Lotus, Eden, Pulse, Eros web side of the web, and tied into How token, which is tied into all of those assets, then maybe Smoke is the bridge. I don't know, man. I'd like that to be, because I think we could all get I think it's a little blunt, right? And you don't even have to smoke a blunt or actually smoke. You don't even have to own it. You can just enjoy it, right? You just enjoy it. It's like the ultimate like Rasta exercise in crypto, scarcity and fun, right? So like smoke as a meme is fun, but it also is on base, it's a fee sharing asset, right? And here it can connect with two fee sharing webs. And so through that, I think it really it becomes meme-fi for sure. And then I also see it because you see all these communities like the Inferno realm, right? This is a unification of like people split into kingdoms, and now it's sort of a coming together, right? On Pulschain. And the intent is just to uplift every single person who comes with good intention and can find their pairs in their place. And if we also educate about the value of like diamond hand holders, not that people don't sell, but we sell smart and we sell, in a good way for community-based assets and platforms, right? So it's one thing to say we're a community, but communities, like healthy communities, like treat each other with dignity and respect always, even in DeFi, even where it's hard to see through the veneer and underneath the hood, right? Which is why dialogue is so important and education. So I think that's what's next. I also think you're going to see what's next is, so I could see Inferno coming. I could see there's going to smoke coming. I could see probably more Lotus and Eden coming. I could see, I would love to see Jake X coming. I would love to see Tink coming. Like anything that's like been brutalized, Tink is like way down, man. It's like, I don't see how that's going to revive right now. Maybe there is a plan for Titan Farms and Tink. I don't see it. If it's that now, I'm fine. I just know there's a lot of Tink holders that, again, have mostly dumped it. It's really low. And so anybody that's holding supply and believes in Tink, like months ago, people were believing in Tink. Like, where are the Tink believers? Who's holding Tink? Well, maybe there's a place to get scarcity on, instead of having to burn it all because it's inflationary. I mean, I don't know what the Titan, I'm hoping Titan Farms will come back, but Tink being strong is key. I heard devs talking about how important Tink was to the ecosystem. Well, where's the strategy? I don't see it. I heard it. Like now, so I'm thinking, okay, Tink holders unite on Pulschain maybe. I'm not a Tink holder, but I like that idea. And then Tink and Ink. Tink and Ink on Pulschain could be a thing. And then it would be creating scarcity on Ethereum and an opportunity to pair with strength. I don't know. For revival, it takes holders, doesn't take the builders and the devs, though that's great. When Inferno comes over, I think it may be the first one that has, because there's dedicated Inferno in the protocol. It's there, it was dedicated. And so I heard, and I'm like, great, that's amazing. Then it's like a sort of a protocol initiative, like with Lotus and Eden. Like it's just this decentralized effort, right? So far, that's what we have. It'll be great when we have whoever are the big holders saying, I'm doing it. And I think we're going to see that. We're going to see some big holders from assets that are distressed on the Ethereum side, learning from the lesson of, and it's not done. It's not that Lotus and Eden are out of the woods, but because the next thing is diamond hand holders and attracting people to it, because you need the demand equation. And that's how we're going to use Eros on Pulschain. It'll be the demand for saying, hey, come to the Eros web. It's this umbrella. It's like the index web for TitanX on Pulschain. Just like PTGC says, we're the index, and they are. They're not the full index of the blue chips on Pulschain, but they're the closest thing to a blue chip index on Pulschain. And that's, in my opinion, that and the community and the math is what makes PTGC so valuable. And I actually learned from them. I'm listening to them and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Eros, as we get some depth, it's only like 2 months old, 8 weeks we've been doing this, but as we get some momentum and depth in the liquidity, it becomes a viable index for the Build on TitanX community of assets on Pulschain. It really does. Now, not all of them have to have deep pools, but everything's there now. Anybody that wants to come in and add liquidity in a pool, you can do it, especially as a community of investors. So I'm not alone, and and then once you get an LP pair that you like I think what we're going to do, I'm going to pull Rich into this, right? And I think he likes this idea because we've already started talking about it, but like the Zara, I mean, Zara is amazing. Not as a token, but as a mascot. She's amazing. And so Zara can represent like Little Blunt and Zara are a great team to promote, like Lotus, Eden, even Vault. Why not? Smoke. So that's what I think we can start seeing is like communities of LP holders and builders will then start saying, here, now look what we have. And then we've got these hyper deflationary assets that come from TitanX. See, that's what TitanX has to share with Pulschain. There are deflationary assets. Now Atropa is becoming deflationary with its own community deflation. PTGC is hyper deflationary, right? But TitanX is, I don't know how much, 50%, over 50, maybe 60% burned, right? TitanX, even though there was a lot of inflation, there's also cap supply, not in the mining protocol. So when price goes up, there'll be more mining, but in a lot of the cap supply tokens on TitanX, those are going to be the scarce ones that will be attractive to Pulschain investors, I think. Okay, so that was the update. It wasn't 20 minutes. It was more like, I don't even know, like an hour. I wish I could be interactive, but I'm doing this on StreamYard, and for some reason I can't. I see that there are people probably on Twitter watching, and I'm wondering if anybody is actually there. Oh, show comments on stage. Anybody's actually there? I don't even know. Anybody have a comment? I just want to know if I'm testing this. I'm going to see if StreamYard works streaming onto X and YouTube at the same time. I think it does. But when I'm doing it from StreamYard, I can't seem to. I can take comments, I think, live on YouTube or something, but nobody watches YouTube live unless you have a following it. I don't. All right. Okay. Peace out. More. Oh, not that any. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna do a stream on, I think, Friday evening. I think GIF. We're gonna keep the tech enabling conversation going, and hopefully my friend Maya, Holistic Maya, who is a total newcomer to crypto. So we've gotten Maya on chain quickly, right? And she's received some gifts from the ORX community, has some ORX tokens in her wallet, which is amazing. That's like having liquid gold, maybe. ORX. And soon I'm going to teach her how to stake it, and she can become part of the fee sharing platform on Ouroboros. And I also sent her some Ascendant NFTs. And next time she's on, I'm going to, like, the next thing that she needs to learn how to do. So I helped her to get a MetaMask wallet on Ethereum. She and I taught her how to send person to person. So we're learning person to person exchange and wallet security, NFTs, sending NFTs. So she's learning that. The next thing is bridging from Ethereum to Pulschain. So she and I are going to do that next. And then once she's bridged over to Pulschain and has a Pulschain version of her wallet, that's when I'm going to start sending her some of my, well, I'll start with one. I'll probably send her an Eros Lotus pair, just because I think that's beautiful, right? And also I know that Rich is keen on Lotus, Eden, and probably Smoke, right? And so I think, and I like that. I like when we have a builder who's interested in building. So yeah, so I think that one will have value, and I want to give Maya a gift, and it's sort of an exchange for her time, like the learning journey. It's the learn to earn idea, which I like. That, yeah, I like learn to earn, and I'm building a learn to earn app and a whole different thing, right? It's not on chain. It's stealth. Eventually, there will be a treasury on chain, I think, and yeah, it'll be a best practice. It'll be a smart machine with a best practice. All right.